at the opening of A Free Man of Color, starring Jeffrey Wright and a host of your favorites, and a new play by John Guare and brilliantly directed by George C. Wolfe.
It's so exciting. I've never had a big Broadway opening, so I'm really, really excited. And of course, to be in the company of these people. One of the greatest American playwrights. George Wolfe is the greatest theater director ever. And you know, the cast, it's just amazing.
I pretty much said to many of my friends, I was like, if I never get a shot to do anything else, this is pretty much my bucket list of, you know, theatrical experiences.
I mean, I thought it was very good tonight. I didn't get as many laughs as I normally do, but I blame that on opening night. I don't like opening nights, generally speaking.
It's a play about people who think they own their lives and in control of everything. And it's all about people living in history.
I always wanted to do a restoration play and set it in America, so I come in and talk to John.
He said, I want you to write a restoration comedy for Jeffrey Wright. I want him to do that. He can play that kind of style. And set it in New Orleans.
And he went off for 2 years and came back with this brilliant, astonishing, powerful, amazing work. And that's how it happened.
We ended up having a really good time because the play is kind of a party too, you know, at least for part of it. And, you know, it's been a real pleasure. It feels really good to open and be done with rehearsals, though.
It's just about the illusion that we can control our lives, but it's also power about reminding us just how America came into being.
It covers the whole Louisiana Purchase from the European point of view and American, Thomas Jefferson, Napoleon. It's a cornucopia of lively characters.
The moment in time that we depict in this play is actually quite small, but it's huge in its vast history of how it created who we are today.
There's so many layers, and because the whole play, you know, goes from this high farce and slowly, imperceptibly, goes very dark.
I would say it's a restoration sex comedy that ends up becoming about America.
It's a play that has epic classical dimensions to it, but it's set in a very specific American reality, American socio-political historical landscape, and that's a great joy for an artist.
What I don't know that people know is that it's wildly funny, you know, and I'm not sure if people are expecting that because it's a period thing, and you know, it's about race and class in some ways, but it's sort of wildly funny, but hopefully there's a gravity underneath it all.
It's a company that, you know, takes on the complexities of who we are as Americans nightly. You go from Mose to John McMartin, veteran of Broadway, who's wonderful as Thomas Jefferson, and young actors like Paul Dano and Nicole Beharie and Vianne Cox. It's just a wonderful gumbo of brilliant actors.
I just think it's a fantastic thing to be a part of on the inside, and I can only imagine that it's a fantastic thing to be a part of on the outside.
I think when you come see this play, all I would ask is that you take the ride, because you have no idea where it's going to take you. And it's very smart, and it's very beautiful, it's very poetic, and it's very relevant to the times of what's going on now.
It's a play, you know, of historic and epic dimensions, but done with you know, the spice of humor and laughter.
These stories need to keep being told so that people can learn and understand what happened, so that we can work on making the future better through our history and through art.
Hi, I'm Emile.
I'm Morgan.
And I'm David.
And you're watching Word of Mouth.
A very rich, very white father left my boss everything, including me. I do all the work, he does nothing.
I beg your pardon? Each morning I may be found at my atelier writing my play.
Where'd you get the nerve to write a play?
Brocade gave me confiance.
Does your masterpiece have a title?
A Free Man of Color.
Tonight I saw A Free Man of Color.
The play is set in New Orleans in the very early 1800s.
This is a place where we meet Jacques Cornell, and he is a mulatto. His father was a white plantation owner, and his mother was a slave. And his mother was then sold, and so he never really knows his mother. But he ends up being a free man upon his father's death. His father leaves him his estate, and he becomes a free man in New Orleans.
He's a Don Juan or a Casanova. He has slept with every lady in New Orleans. He has peed off every single man in town because he's been with all their wives.
Jacques Cardot is rich and lavish, and the ladies love him, and he's suave, and he's cool. He has a slave named Amar, and he knows how to use his money to get what he wants, which really makes his personality stand out in the New Orleans society.
It's taking you at a time when the United States isn't the United States we know now. And so New Orleans is just this plot of land that's separate from everything else, but it's prime real estate.
Eventually, New Orleans is sold, and it's sold, well, it gets first from the Spanish to the French, and then the French sell it for a heck of a lot of money. And after the Louisiana Purchase, Jacques Cornell's life changed. I don't want to tell you too much more than that, but it changed.
Jeffrey Wright, who played Jacques Cardot, was a very talented actor, and he kept his energy up throughout the entire performance.
I love Jeffrey Wright. I do. He's so good, and he is wonderful as this character. He was eloquent. He was focused. He embodied that character. He understood the character. He liked being Jacques, and you saw that.
If Jeffrey Wright were not in this play, I don't think I would have had such a great time. He's very lively. His facial expressions are terrific. I think sometimes when you go to the theater, one person or one actor is really trying their darndest to hold the play together. I feel like he is the glue to the whole play, and he works very hard, and it's really fun to watch him at work.
Mos Def played Mamur, and Mamur is Jacques' slave, and he really played this well. I mean, the last time I saw Mos in a play is when together he and Jeffrey Wright did Top Dog Underdog, which was also George Wolfe. Brilliant work, the two of them together.
Very good chemistry. I think that they look like they're best friends, and they really got along really, really well. And they played off of each other really well.
Nicole Bahari played Marjorie, and she absolutely lit up the stage. Every time she'd come on stage, she had this new enthusiasm. I thought that she was awesome.
Joseph Marcel played Dr. Tudo, and he was the narrator, if you will, that takes us through the entire journey. He was wonderful, and it was great to see him again.
You know, when you go to the Vivian Beaumont Theater at Lincoln Center, you're always expecting quite a big production. You know, it's a huge stage, and it's a beautiful space. This was, again, Lincoln Center put on a very, very elegant, it's a very beautiful production.
The costumes for this show were awesome.
They are so full of beads and velvets, and there's lots of them.
The period is captured so beautifully in the clothes that it really takes you to that period.
A Man of Free Color is not a great play. It's a really interesting play. It's an epic play. I had a good time at it. I'd be surprised if it ever is revived again. But it's an evening of very, very special theater.
I wanted to love it. I wanted to love it because I love Jeffrey Wright, and because I love Mos Def, and there were so many brilliant people in the cast, and with that kind of talent, you just think it's going to be amazing. And it wasn't amazing. And I think part of it was there was too much being done at the same time.
There are a lot of things going on when you first start the show. Everybody introduces themselves at once, except for a few select characters, which made it a little bit hard to follow at first. I think that if I didn't have the background history to back it up, it would have been much harder to follow the plot.
It's the History Channel meets Masterpiece Theater is really what this play is. And you have to really concentrate. And you know, I'm willing to concentrate, and I did concentrate, but I would tell you this, if you're not willing to put out the extra miles to pay attention to all these people, you're going to be lost.
I didn't have as strong as an emotional attraction to it as I had hoped going into it. I think that the satire of it maybe detracted a little bit from the emotional appeal that it might have had to the audience if it were a straight drama.
And so you just kept going from person to person to person and basically listening to everything that was happening, but you weren't ever emotionally invested.
I recommend this play with reservations. I think if you go to the theater and you just want to sit down and relax and let the play come out at you and have a good time, you shouldn't see this play. It's not easy, so don't go if you don't want to put out that effort.
I would say go see it because Jeffrey Wright and Mos Def's in it, and Jeffrey's amazing. I'd say go see it because if you're really interested in history and you really want to see history told in an interesting way, this period of history told in an interesting way, you would love this play.
All in all, I thought it was a good show. I just think that it was a lot of thinking.
Dearest, may I come in?
No, adored one. I don't want you catching what I have.
Is it yellow fever?
It's a fever of a different color.
Dearest orgasm of my eyeballs, could my imperial code breaker be in our temple of joy?
What does it look like?
A long black tube with a red ribbon on it.
Sounds familiar. I'll keep my eyes open.